In this video we will talk about the neuron. A neuron is an electrically excitable cell that processes and transmits information through both the electrical and chemical signals. Let's first talk about the structure of the neuron. As you can see, the majority of the neurons are made up of three main parts. The first main part is the dendrites of the neuron. The second main part of the neuron is the cell body, and the third main part of the neuron is the axon. Let's first talk about the dendrites. Now dendrites, they usually arise from the cell body and they are variable in number. The dendrites basically get thinner with every branching of the dendrite. Now talking about the cell body of the neuron, the cell body basically consists of all these typical cell organelles like the mitochondrium, endoplasmic reticulum, nucleus, cytosol, etc. One special type of organelle that is present in the cell body of the neuron are these Nissel's granules, which are basically the collection of endoplasmic reticulum. These are the rough endoplasmic reticulum and they help in the protein synthesis of the neuron. Now talking about the axon of the neuron, the axon is usually a single structure which arises from the cell body of the neuron, and the axon basically usually remains at a constant diameter throughout its length. And the point of origin of the axon from the cell body is known as the axon hillock. The axon in majority of the neurons is covered by a myelin sheath which helps in the electrical insulation and proper electrical conduction of the axon. This structure you see here are the axon terminal of the axon, and these are basically a collection of synaptic bulbs which are connected to the dendrites of the further axons. And these axon terminals release chemical transmitters, most commonly the GABA and the glutamate, which help in generating new impulses in the neurons which are connected to these synaptic bulbs. So this was a brief description about the structure of the neuron. Let's talk about how the signal is transmitted across a neuron. So talking about the neuron signal transmission, as you can see in this diagram, we have three neurons. The neuron number 2 and the neuron number 3 are connected to the synaptic terminals of the axon number 1. So to begin the neuron signal transmission, one important term I would like here to mention is the resting potential, which is the electrical potential in the neurons at their resting state, and it is minus 70 millivolts. So the initiating event in the neuron signal transmission is usually firing of the synaptic terminals, which are connected to the dendrites of the axon number 1. And when the action potential develops inside the axon number 1, it causes the depolarization of the axon number 1 across its whole length, and this electrical signal transmits across the whole length of the axon number 1. And when this positive signal reaches the synaptic terminal of the axon 1, it causes the release of neurotransmitters. And these neurotransmitters interact with the dendrites of the axon number 2 and the axon number 3, and they cause development of similar action potentials in both the axons, which are connected to the axon number 1. So this is how the electrical signal transmits across the various axons. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you find this video helpful. Don't forget to hit the like button below and also make sure to subscribe to our channel.